All right, today we're going to talk about building an IT governance system that actually works for your organization, and we're going to use COBIT 2019 to do it. So whether you're in a high-stakes field like banking, or maybe you're just studying for that COBIT Foundation exam, we're going to show you how to build a truly custom solution, not just a generic one.
So have you ever wondered why so many companies just can't seem to get IT governance right? Well, it usually boils down to one simple thing. They're trying to use a one-size-fits-all approach. They grab some generic blueprint off the shelf, and it's just a recipe for disaster. It's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. The reality for most places is, well, it's a mess of different frameworks all competing for attention. You get different teams pushing for their favorite, and what you end up with is framework overload. It just leads to confusion, things get missed, other things get done twice. It's just not a streamlined system.
You hear this all the time, right? Oh, we use NIST, so we don't need COBIT. But that's totally missing the point. Look, NIST is fantastic for cybersecurity, no doubt, but COBIT isn't there to replace it. Think of COBIT as the glue, or maybe like the middleware. It's that overarching framework that helps you manage and integrate all these other specialized pieces so they work together, turning all that potential chaos into one coherent system.
So how does COBIT pull this off? Well, it all starts with a core set of building blocks. These are the fundamental parts you'll use to build your custom governance blueprint. And hey, for those of you prepping for the foundation exam, you are definitely going to want to pay close attention to this next part.
40. That is the magic number in COBIT 2019. There are 40 core governance and management objectives, and this is basically your parts catalog. Every single detail you could possibly need about these objectives is right there in the Governance and Management Objectives publication. Seriously, it's the heart of the whole framework. And these 40 objectives are split into two main buckets: governance and management. Governance, that's the what. It's the board and the execs setting the direction. That's the EDM domain. Evaluate, direct, and monitor. Management is the how. This is your senior and middle management actually executing on that direction. And they do it across 4 domains: APO, BAI, DSS, and MEA. Now, each one of these 40 objectives is way more than just a name on a list. It's a really detailed component with a bunch of different parts. For every single objective, the guide breaks down the process, the practices, the nitty-gritty activities, what information goes in and what comes out, the kinds of people and skills you need, even the policies to guide it. It is a complete package for each and every building block.
Okay, so we've got our catalog of 40 parts. Awesome. But how do we pick the right ones for us? This is where the design phase comes in. This is where we go from a generic list to a truly custom-made solution by selecting and prioritizing what matters. COBIT 2019 gives us these things called design factors. The easiest way to think of them is like filters. You look at your own organization. What's your strategy? What are your biggest risks? Your compliance headaches? Your IT pain points? You run all that through these filters, and they help you figure out which of those 40 objectives are the most critical for you right now.
And this is what makes COBIT 2019 so powerful. It's not just a book of rules. It's a flexible, repeatable process. It moves you away from that rigid, one-size-fits-all problem and gets you to a system that actually fits your company's specific needs.
Let's make this real. For a bank, what are the big design factors? Well, you've got massive compliance requirements and a huge threat landscape, right? So those factors are naturally going to push you to prioritize objectives like managed risk, managed compliance, and managed security services. See how that works? You focus your energy and resources where they matter most for you.
Okay, so you've used the design factors, you've got your custom blueprint, and you know exactly which objectives to focus on. So, now what? How do you actually build this thing? Well, that's when we put down the design guide and pick up the implementation guide.
The difference here is super clear and simple. The design guide helps you figure out what to build. That's your blueprint. The implementation guide gives you the how. It's the phased, step-by-step plan to actually construct, roll out, and then keep improving your governance system.
An implementation isn't a one-and-done project. It's a cycle of continuous improvement. It's built around 7 really logical questions, starting with why you're even doing this, figuring out where you are now, deciding where you want to go, and then planning and getting it done. But the last 2 are so crucial. Did we actually get there, and how do we keep this thing going? Let's put it all together. What does this finished structure actually look like in our bank example? After you've gone from the generic framework through the custom design all the way to implementation, what's the end result? What do you get? What you get is a governance profile that is perfectly lined up with the bank's reality.
Because the threat landscape is high, security objectives get prioritized. Because compliance is a huge deal, risk and compliance objectives are front and center. And because IT is strategic to their future, well, then strategy and innovation objectives get the attention they need. The design process leads you right to this tailored result.
So let's recap the big stuff. First, and most importantly, COBIT is flexible. It is not one size fits all. Second, those 40 objectives, those are your core building blocks. Third, the design factors are the tools you use to customize everything. And finally, remember that implementation is a journey, not a destination. It's a continuous cycle.
I just love this quote. It's from an expert who did this at a huge financial company. The board literally told him, don't come in here and say the word COBIT. They didn't care about the brand name. They just wanted effective governance. So they used the principles, they used the design process, and they built exactly what they needed. It just proves that the real value is in how you apply it, not what you call it.
So at the end of the day, COBIT 2019 gives you all the pieces, the design filters, and the instruction manual. But the final blueprint, that's in your hands. So the real question is, how are you going to design yours?